Welcome to another episode of Conversations in Music. I'm your host, Byrd, and we have a very, very special guest today. I've been a fan of his for as long as I can remember. He's a singer, songwriter, and guitarist from South Africa. His style is recognizable and unlike any other that you've ever heard. He's been wowing audiences for more than 50 years, dating back to age 12, and he's worked with the likes of Patti LaBelle, George Benson, George Duke, and Al Jarreau, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incomparable, the super talented Mr. Jonathan Butler. Welcome to the conversation. So, Jonathan, how you doing, brother?
Man, good to see you, man. Good to be back at St. James.
Yes, sir.
You know, talking about lamb chops and collard greens.
I see you like to eat. Is that what that is?
I'm a foodie, man.
You're a foodie.
I'm a foodie. I'm a chef.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm a chef. About 9 years ago, went through a few life changes. You know, the road split up, and then I had to kind of figure out, okay, do I order
Out,
or do I really figure out how to take care of myself?
Yeah.
And thank God for YouTube, man.
Oh.
I found a chef that I really love to this very day. He's from Britain.
Okay.
And his name is Marco Pierre. And I think this guy became my teacher. Because
Gotcha.
after that, I was like, you can ask my children, you can ask Dave Cars, Candy Dolphin, Wayman, the late Wayman Tisdale. You can ask everybody. It's like, I'm in it. And I love cooking, like, you know, wherever I've traveled. If it's from Kenya, I'll cook you something from Kenya. I'll cook you something from Nigeria.
Okay.
I'll cook you something from Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cook you something from Japan. I'll cook you something from China.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the
Wow.
idea. It's like how my music is. It's just like how I dress, how I eat. It's like wherever I've been, and my mother's recipes too. You know, not forgetting her recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's cold and wintry, I go for her recipes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man.
So needless to say, if this music thing don't work out, you got a backup plan. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, listen, let me tell you something. Before I had girlfriends, I had music.
Gotcha.
And when the girls leave, I'll still have music.
I hear you.
So they better recognize I'll always have music. So if
got
you want to get out of here, see ya.
The music stand.
Music will stay with me.
I got you.
My guitar was my best friend since I was 5 years old.
Wow. 5.
And I've been making music almost over 50 years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just inside of all of us, all the Butlers, or every one of us has a gift in music. So I really, you know, that was how we kept ourselves happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were poor, but we kept ourselves happy.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you say you started at 5.
Yeah.
What was that introduction to the guitar? Who put it in
It
your
was
hands?
my dad. It was my dad, my older brother, Ponty, Cecil. We called him Ponty, like, you know, John LaPonte.
Mm-hmm.
We called him Ponty because he was what we call in South Africa, Mr. Bruce, like Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
If you were like the guy, we called you Mr. Bruce.
I got you.
So my oldest brother was like, he was Wes Montgomery, he was Barney Kessel,
Wow.
he was Django Reinhardt, he was Wes, he was everything. I mean, he could play banjo as well as guitar.
Wow.
So my fascination started watching him playing.
Okay.
And through him is when I started grabbing the guitar and learning how to play on one string. So I learned melodies on just one string.
Wow.
And I think that shaped my whole life the way I play now, because I'm more of a melodic player than I am a technician. There's technicians, but I mean, I have my own technique, but I feel like I'm more of a, I feel like if I can play on one string,
yeah,
it's enough for me to get my point across. You know, I mean, the fretboard is, you can go up and down, but it was really my older brother who really grabbed my attention. And I wish I could play banjo, because my father was incredible on banjo, and so was my older brother. And they were the only two cats that knew how to work this thing.
So, tell us the difference between guitar and banjo? Just
But first
the
of all, the
subtle
tuning is
differences.
different.
Okay.
It's 4-string or 5-string.
Okay.
And the tuning is different. And also the banjo is like a percussive instrument. It has the skin on it.
Yeah.
So when you're doing like, really that rhythmic thing, in South Africa, just like Brazil, our culture is kind of connected because we have carnival every January, and all the suburbs compete, all the different communities compete for the semifinals, finals. So and when I was a child, that's where I got started. I got started in carnival. I got started in ballet choirs as a kid, singing Muslim songs in city halls and competing. And so I learned all of what I know, rhythms. And I mean, you could hear guys playing, 200 guys playing different instruments, trumpet, saxes, banjos, guitars, sticks, hitting the sticks on the ground, And it's like, that's where I was baptized in this thing. It's just, like I said, when the women leave, I'll still be okay. I mean, I'll be crying, I'll be sitting there weeping in the corner. But damn it, man, I'll have my guitar, I'll have my instrument, man.
Yeah, I feel the same way about piano for sure. So
I remember when I went through a hard time. When I was going through a tough time. I had my grand piano, and I had moved out of the big palatial freaking mess to just a little cottage, small house. And I was sitting playing my piano every day. And I wrote my album Free that Mano Haynes produced. And that's what it's about. It's about music for me. Yeah.
I got you. So your recording career started in the mid '70s. I think you went mainstream in the '80s, but
no, my recording career started in 1973 when I was 12.
Yeah, so okay, early '70s. I
Yeah.
said mid '70s.
Oh, you did say
yeah,
70.
but
Yeah. I'm waking up.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So tell us about how you guys started as a recording artist. Was it something you always wanted to do? It was something that kind of like an opportunity came. It's like, you know what? I don't know where this is leading to, but I'm gonna take
Well,
it.
I was a young kid, I'd already started. I was already singing and performing from age 5.
Right.
Working for my parents in concerts and touring and a lot of different plays. And by the time I was 12, I was then discovered by these guys. And by the way, my father listening to radio was very fascinating to me. We never had electricity, but we had this gramophone that my father would play, and I loved listening to the music that was coming from the radio. So that was a fascination for me. I didn't grow up in a ambitious family. Ambition wasn't sort of embedded in us. So when I was already a child's prodigy coming up, by the time I was 12, I was singing cabaret every weekend at a club called the Goldfinger Lounge. Goldfinger Lounge
Okay.
in my community. And that was like the greatest of the greatest artists from Cape Town performed there.
Wow.
And so I was there all the time during the weekends. People would hire me. And I was discovered by Clive Calder and Ralph Simon, who founded Jive Records. These guys signed R. Kelly and Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, and they're from South Africa. They're South Africans, so they had an independent label in South Africa, very small label, and they only signed black artists. It's the only white company that signed black artists. And those days, black artists only could record on 8 tracks. White artists recorded on 24 tracks.
Wow.
And black artists had to do an album a day. You record your album one time. That's it. And it's done. So they signed me. They came and discovered me, and they came to my parents, to discuss me signing with them. And my parents allowed me to get signed with them. And they flew me to Johannesburg. And I made my first album, one album, full 10 songs from beginning to end. And went to radio. And that was the first time I heard myself on radio as a 12-year-old.
Wow. 12.
And yeah, as 12 years old, I heard myself on the radio, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. It was like magic. It was like a miracle. Like, how am I hearing myself? And that record, I got 2 double gold, it went double gold in South Africa. And I got a Grammy, South African Grammy for that. And then I had another second single that went gold as well. But then now I was growing into like a teenager, and they were moving their company from South Africa to London.
Okay.
And they decided under the apartheid movement, they couldn't grow. They would not be able to grow, so they left for England. They packed up and moved. And then years later, they offered me a deal to come to England. And that's when the country was, apartheid struggle was really at its hottest.
Yeah.
And I got an opportunity to, it was a very, it was a very hard decision for me to make because I was part of the movement and I wanted to stay in South Africa. And, but my late pastor told me, he was like a father figure to me. And he said, hey, you only get an opportunity once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
You're young, take it. And I went to London. Long story short, I ended up staying in England for 12 years.
Wow.
And then I was writing for Millie Jackson, for Regina Bell, for Tom Jones, for George Benson, Al Jarreau, the Pointer Sisters, Patti LaBelle. It was crazy. I was writing all this. I was co-writing with everybody, and I was earning a living making sessions, doing sessions. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you bring up apartheid. I've had the opportunity and the privilege, let me say, rather, to visit South Africa once. I went to Johannesburg, and when I got there, I had a little history, a little understanding of what I'm from Selma, Alabama.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's the same kind of struggle, if you will. You know what I mean? That we've been fighting for years with civil rights over here. But I had a chance to view the Apartheid Museum.
Yeah.
I went by Nelson Mandela's house, and you mentioned him tonight because you just got back from Africa, a month-long excursion there, and safari there. When I mention that name, Nelson Mandela, to you, what does it really mean to you? I mean, we know the world at large know the stories and everything that led up to that, but what does it mean to you personally from growing up there?
There's a scripture in the Bible that says, blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness.
Yes.
For they shall be filled. These were the pillars of righteousness, peace, that we in our lifetime were able to witness and to be around. We were able to see, what righteousness and justice and peace look like in person.
Correct.
We sing about Jesus as our peace, our righteousness. And because of his sacrifice, he was working in the quarry, chopping. They made them chop stones just to humiliate them, not to give them a job. This was humiliation.
Yes.
Many of the guys that was there, it's Oliver Tambo, the names and the list goes on and on. And to me, we had Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu was the father of peace, of reconciliation. So we live in a country where we actually had physical, tangible connection with, like I said, when Nelson Mandela put on the rugby shirt, that was the most powerful moment for our nation, which the world thought was going to fall apart. But when Mandela put that T-shirt on, the rugby T-shirt, man, this was a white sport. Blacks were not allowed to play, and here comes the black man, he puts on that T-shirt, the Springbok T-shirt, and the country just unites and become united. And it's the first time when I put the jersey on about a month ago, but actually less than a month ago when we won the World Cup. When I put it on, and I posted it, my country was proud of me for putting on that T-shirt because I showed that, yes, if Tata can do that, Tata's Mandela, if he can do that to make that point that we are united, we are a united South Africa, we are not a divided. Having said that, nobody should be hungry in the world, period. Our people are suffering under the present government and present policies. That is really difficult. But I will never forget what we've achieved up till now.
Yeah.
And next year is the 30th anniversary of democracy in South Africa.
Wow.
And for me to sleep in his Mandela's bedroom in his private home was something. I mean, I didn't sleep. I sat up till like 3, 4 in the morning,
Sure.
just taking it in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, next to me was his little memorabilia, like his soap and his towels and his perfume.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked CK1, which I used to
Mm-hmm.
use CK1 as well, Calvin
Yeah.
Klein, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he was a modest,
Giant.
yeah. And most of the guys, most of the people like Desmond Tutu, Mandela, they're the lightest souls. You think of them as serious people,
Mm-hmm.
but they were the lightest of souls that you to be around, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were in Africa for your safari. So tell us a little bit about your safari. So you've been doing it for
My
about 12
safari
years.
is become such a it's become such a connection between South Africa and Americans.
Okay.
You know, because when they get there, they realize, oh my God,
Yes.
we are staying in the second oldest hotel in the world.
Wow.
I mean, in South Africa.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
not the
yeah.
world. The second oldest hotel in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
When Mandela finished his book, Long Road to Freedom, in that hotel, the Queen Mother stayed there. Prince Charles, Lady Di. I mean, every actor from America stays there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, they get there and they go, oh my God, this is amazing. And they see Table Mountain and they realize, man, this is a trip, you know. And I'm there to greet them, and then we kind of, you know, we start our excursions, and they just, it blows their mind. And what it is for me to see South Africa through the eyes of Americans as their host
Mm-hmm.
is the most fulfilling feeling for me. And believe me, I've been doing this without South African tourism supporting me. I've just been doing this with my partner, who's a travel agent guy, you know. And it is completely 5-star. You know, it's really a 5-star vibe. Marcus Malou was on the, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and when they see the wildlife and they see a lion up close and see an elephant up close and a leopard and a rhino, the big five, you know, the Cape buffalo,
Yeah.
they go, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
This is like nothing we've ever experienced, you know. It's their bucket list, but it's also their connection to me and my connection to them. Because everywhere I play, I now have friends in different cities, all across the country. Some of them were here tonight, came to see the show. I just wasn't able to hook up with anybody, but so now we have South African Tourism, who is now saying, what can we do to help to make your experience better, you know? And because as you can tell, man, I represent my country wherever I go.
Absolutely.
And I don't do it for any benefit other than just to let people go there, to see people go there.
Yeah.
When we had the Cape Town Jazz Festival, it was amazing to see Americans just, you know, get on the plane and they come, oh, I want to clap my hands, yeah. So yeah. So anyway, that's like the experience that I'm hoping that Americans take away. And also, of course, you know, we love the support that Americans bring to our country, you know, in support of my charities that I support there. And so it's all about, you know, bringing the world together. It gets closer, smaller, you know. Some Americans want to buy homes there when they come there. They're like, oh man, how much is a house out here? You know, they can live on the beach for nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your latest record is Ubuntu.
Ubuntu, yeah.
You just mentioned Marcus Miller, who produced that, or co-produced it with you. Tell us about that process and what was it like brainstorming with Marcus to come up with this wonderful album.
In short, Marcus literally shaped the record and shaped my sound. I think he's one of the greatest producer shapers who can make an artist. He knows where to find your sweet spot. You know, he'll always make me sing in a higher key so that he gets the emotion out of me,
Yeah.
and he'll always kind of check for accents, language, because there's the South African way of singing and speaking, and but he's always been very open-minded about the world music sound.
Yes.
From tutu to um, you know all of the stuff that he's done with Miles Davis,
Yeah.
and with David Sanborn.
Mm-hmm.
He
Maputo
is,
and all
yeah,
that stuff,
Maputo.
Mhm.
He's always been fascinated with African sound.
Yeah.
So to have him in South Africa produce my record, it was sort of coming full circle for me.
Mhm.
I recorded there when I was in 1973, 74,
Mhm.
and to come back in my 60s and record with young bloods, like young musicians,
Yeah.
was an unbelievable experience, And it's just like you can tell with the live shows that I do, I'm going back to my roots and I'm un, uncompromising about it,
Yes.
I mean, there's room for everybody, but I find that sometimes smooth jazz, a lot of guys sound a lot alike.
Yes.
There's no differentiation between who's playing who.
Correct.
When I grew up in the industry, you could tell George Benson different from Earl Klugh. Earl Klugh was different from Larry Carlton. From Larry Carlton,
Absolutely.
Larry Carell.
Yeah.
It's just now it seems like it's either the same tempo or somewhat the same kind of sound.
Yeah.
So I feel like I needed to kind of really just pull back
Mm-hmm.
and go to my roots and play music from. And I'll tell it to any young kid listening to you this conversation. If you're from Atlanta, play sounds from here.
Mm-hmm.
Play the sound that you grew up with, because if you're from Africa, I also say the same thing. We forget that we have a sound in Cape Town, and we're not utilizing it. We're not opening up ourselves to it. You know what I mean? So it's like I needed to find myself back to my roots, and Marcus was the right guy to drive the car. He was the perfect guy to drive the car, and I was a passenger. And you know, I'm just thrilled how well the record is done, and it's also kind of repositioned me in the way that I want to be. I want to be my own sort of just. I want people to experience something when they come to the concert. Something I want them to experience a journey of spirituality, uh, celebration, roots, the identity, unity, the whole thing. Because I got so much. If you speak to any South African, you'll always find out that we have so much. We have so many stories. All of us have so many stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm sure if you were sitting with a native Indian, they have a lot of stories that they share with their kids, and it's legacy building. So I had to go back to my roots, man. Ubuntu was sort of, and Marcus, I could believe God used Marcus to unlock that fire that I had in my younger days to just be daring and bold and fight my way through.
Right.
And he was the guy, that the conduit to kind of, because I had the fire, but I was just looking at smooth jazz and saying, nah. I was like, nah. And I know we all want to get played on the radio. I get it, but it's always
individuality is important.
Yeah, I think being who you are,
absolutely.
If you're gonna make music for others, and when do you make music that you love for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like you gotta be authentic.
Correct.
And so I think with this album, the authenticity about it is that I just went back to my roots and made a record.
Gotcha.
And I'm so proud of it. I'm so thrilled that Marcus is, we are connected. And then Stevie Wonder came and he was so happy and excited when we played on his record. When I played the song back to him, Marcus and I spent like hours with him, and he was so just generous
Mm-hmm.
to play on it. He didn't even charge me a penny.
Hey, it's a blessing.
I mean, he is. I mean, first of all, I don't think I would ever be able to pay him.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
So he is king in my book. You know, he's really king in my book. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then Keb Mo, who came on the record and came and played on it, sang on it, and Russell Ferrante, who I love. Russell,
Yellow Jackets.
You know, Yellow Jackets, all-time favorite.
One of my favorites.
Absolutely. So you can imagine, like, I had all these major cats, man. I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah. You know, and to be able to leave the record in Marcus's hands without having to worry about, you know. So it was, yeah. It was. I remember watching the young musicians in the studio when they heard Marcus Miller was in town. That studio was packed.
I'm sure.
Kids were crying.
I'm sure.
There were musicians crying.
Yeah.
They didn't believe that Marcus was actually there. Yeah. You know, bass players.
I'm sure.
So it was really, really an experience. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if this question is appropriate right now because you've named so many people. Are there any dream collaborations that has not happened yet that you would like to have?
I tell you, it's probably Layla Hathaway.
Okay. Layla?
I've never worked with Layla. Layla, I mean, that's my vocal crush right there. She really is my vocal crush.
Does she know?
No, she doesn't know it.
Now she does.
I am very, I love her so dearly. I think she's
incredible.
I think she just is an instrument of note. She's an instrument. She's a perfect instrument. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have to play piano or play the sax. She's just a perfect instrument. Yeah. Yeah.
I can agree.
Yeah.
Well, you hear it St. James.
There's my wife tonight. And there's Layla.
That's a good one. Good catch. Good catch. You're here at St. James Live tonight. This is your second time here?
Yeah.
How do you like the place? Tell us about it.
I gotta be honest with you. I think you guys are doing great. I think it's great to be here. I think this place has bones with meat on it.
Yes.
And you just gotta keep doing this.
Absolutely.
You know, you just gotta keep. You know what I used to do when I was in New York for 4 months making records? I had a waste bin, and I would call the musicians union for every musician's number. And I would write it down on a piece of paper and throw it in that bin. Mm-hmm. So if I needed something, Onaji Allen Gums, we were very close friends. I would pick up Onaji, call him up. Okay, where you going tonight? I'm going to see Noel Pointer. Okay, let's go. You know, so just keep that Rolodex rolling. Yeah. Because I think this place is really, and it's warm. It's community warm.
Correct.
You know, that's what it's about. It's community warm. It's legacy building. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the other bigger picture.
Yes.
It's legacy building, you know, and embracing our culture, our music, and celebrating us too, because don't celebrate us when we're dead. You know, celebrate us while we here.
Yeah.
You know, make movies about us while we're here.
Correct.
You know, don't wait till we can't speak.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite African dish?
Oh, man. It's got to come from South Africa, but I have to be honest. Between Ghana and Nigeria, I do love Ghanaian light soup. I like Nigerian pepper soup, but I think I love South African curry. That's it. Yeah, I love
South African curry for the win.
Yeah, it's the win. Yeah, it's the win.
Let people know where they can find you online.
I'm on Instagram, JonathanKennethButler.com. I'm on Facebook. They can always find me there. I don't do Twitter that much, but that's another Elon Musk situation. Right. I don't want to get into that, but definitely I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Last question. If you had to have a conversation and give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
I would not give myself any advice. I would not regret anything that I had to go through. What I went through was very hard. I had a very tough life. You know, I had a very difficult life. Mm-hmm. I was molested as a boy at the age of 6, 7. I was physically abused by a brother. I was raised on my own. I grew up on my own, not with my parents. I never had my parents' guidance and advice. So I grew up working for my parents since I was 5. So I have a very tough life. And if I had to give myself advice, I would say life ain't easy. You've got to work hard, and you got to maintain you got to respect your instrument, and you got to believe in yourself, you know, and you got to also know that God is the one that will avenge my struggles. And so that's why I was telling people tonight, you know, it's easy when you lay your burden down to Him, and instead of trying to carry it like a dead person on your back. Mm-hmm. So if I had to advise for myself, you know, I was born to make people happy. It took pain to do that. Mm-hmm. Nelson Mandela was born to be in prison for 27 years to be the light for us. So I'm done. You know what I mean? That's what I would say.
I got you. Jonathan, you're a gift, brother. I appreciate you so much, man.
Likewise.
See you soon.
You will do.
And
Next year.
I'm not going to forget. When we was in Cozumel, you tried to flip me out of my hammock. Do you remember that? I fell asleep on the beach. Yeah. I owe you.
You were in DW3. Yeah.
That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much.